ever feel like just the thought of hearing no is enough to make you want to crawl under your desk?
Oh, tell me about it.
Well, get ready to climb out, because today we're diving into a book that's going to totally change how you view rejection.
I'm intrigued. What are we diving into?
Rejection-Proof
Yeah.
by Jia Jiang. Have you heard of it?
Yeah, it's the one where the author actually did this whole experiment, right?
Exactly. He decided to get rejected 100 times on
Oop,
purpose.
I remember that. 100 rejections. Can you imagine?
Honestly, the thought of it makes me cringe. But the book summary said that's kind of the whole point, that we build up rejection to be this huge thing in our minds.
It's like our perception of rejection, that gut punch feeling it, often overshadows the actual event.
Right, like we make it into a bigger deal than it needs to be.
Exactly. And that's what Jiang wanted to unpack, to understand if it was possible to detach from that emotional weight.
And was it? Could he actually do it? Desensitize himself, I guess.
Well, that's the interesting part. It wasn't about becoming numb to rejection, but rather about understanding that a no often has very little to do with you.
Okay, I can see that. Like sometimes people have other stuff going on, and it has nothing to do with your request. But it's still hard not to take it personally.
It is, for sure. But to prove this point, Jiang did some pretty out there stuff. The summary mentioned this one example where he went to a bank and asked a teller if he could borrow $100.
Wait, just out of the blue?
Yep, a total stranger, totally outlandish request.
Did he get it?
No. I mean, come on, who would say yes to that? But here's the thing. After the teller told him no, another teller actually overheard and came over to ask Jiang about his story.
So even though he was initially rejected, it sparked some curiosity.
Exactly. It just goes to show that the same request can be met with a whole spectrum of reactions. It's not always a reflection on you. The summary had another example that really brings this home.
Oh, what was that?
So picture this. Jiang walks into a Krispy Kreme
Okay, I love where this is going.
and asks for a job.
Did he actually want to work there?
It doesn't seem like it. Remember, he was on this mission to get rejected 100 times.
Right, 100 rejections. So they obviously said no.
Of course, but here's where it gets interesting. Instead of just walking away, he asks if he can at least do a donut-shaped presentation about rejection.
Wait, what, a donut-shaped presentation? Like the slides are shaped like donuts.
You got it. Now, I don't know if they let him do the whole presentation. You'll have to read the book for the full story.
Okay, fine, but come on, that's a cliffhanger.
I know, right? But the summary did say that his use of humor, even in the face of rejection, completely changed the dynamic. It's like he took this potentially awkward situation and made it a shared experience.
So he kind of disarmed them with humor.
Exactly. And it ties into another big idea from the book, the power of why. See, instead of just saying okay and walking away when he was told no, Jiang made it a habit to ask, why not?
I can see how that would be valuable, especially if it's for something important, like a job.
Absolutely. In some cases, that simple question uncovered hidden reasons behind the rejection, like maybe there was a budget issue or a misunderstanding about his experience, things he wouldn't have known if he didn't ask.
So by understanding the why, you can maybe fix the issue next time.
Or at the very least, you learn something. And that leads to another big takeaway. Rejection is often just feedback, not a dead end.
That's a good point. It's like that saying, you can't always control the cards you're dealt, but you can control how you play them.
And sometimes that means learning how to fold them.
And sometimes it means knowing when to hold them.
Huh? Exactly. But seriously, this idea of seeing rejection as data is powerful. It helps us refine our approach, our pitch, even our goals.
So instead of letting it get us down, we can use it to figure out how to do better next time.
You got it. In fact, the book summary lists 24 lessons Jiang learned from his 100 rejections. And a lot of them aren't even about getting to yes, but about self-awareness, resilience, understanding what truly matters.
That's really interesting. So those rejections almost helped him figure out his priorities in life.
It's like those experiences, as tough as they might have been in the moment, helped him figure out who he was and what he really wanted. And it brings us to one of the more profound points in the book, this idea that before we can conquer external rejection, we have to look inward at how we view ourselves.
So self-acceptance is key.
Absolutely. It's like the foundation for everything else.
So how do we even start with that? Like, how do we actually work on self-acceptance? It seems like one of those things that's easier said than done, you know?
It definitely is a process. And like anything worthwhile, it takes some effort. But one thing that Jiang emphasizes is the power of action. It's not about waiting to feel perfect or super confident before you put yourself out there. It's about taking those risks, even if they lead to rejection.
So it's like the more you face rejection, the less scary it becomes.
In a way, yeah. It's more that each time you handle it, you build up this resilience. You realize you can survive a no. And the book summary actually connects this back to that idea of rejection not always being about you.
I'm not sure I follow. How are those connected?
Think about it this way. When you face those fears and come out the other side, you start to realize that your self-worth doesn't hinge on a single yes or no.
Okay, that makes sense. It's like the more you experience rejection, the more you realize it's not always personal. But I'm curious, what about those times when it does sting? When you get rejected and you can't help but feel bad, what do you do then?
That's where the power of reframing comes in. It's about choosing how you view the situation. And the summary had a great example of this. It talked about how Jiang tried to join a line of people who were getting their picture taken together.
Oh, like a group of strangers.
Yep. Most of them said no, which makes sense, right? Who wants a random dude jumping in their photo op?
Exactly. So you got rejected. What's the big deal?
The big deal is how he reacted. Instead of focusing on all the no's, he focused on the fact that one person actually said yes.
Oh, I get it. So it's about looking for those little wins to
Mhm.
shift your perspective.
Exactly. It's about consciously choosing to focus on the positive, even if it's just a tiny glimmer in a sea of no.
I like that. It's like you miss 100% of the shots you don't take, but even if 99 people say no, that one yes can make all the difference.
Right. And it made me think about how important persistence is. Remember how Jiang set out to get rejected 100 times?
Oh yeah, 100 times.
Well, the book summary said he often didn't just stop at the first no. He'd ask why, or he'd try to figure out a different way to approach it. And sometimes that persistence paid off.
So it's not just about accepting rejection, but about knowing when to push back a little, to advocate for yourself and what you want.
Right. And to do that, you need a certain level of self-belief, which circles back to that idea of self-acceptance. When you believe in yourself and your worth, you're more likely to stand up for your ideas, even if you've been told no.
It's like you have to believe in what you bring to the table before anyone else will.
Exactly. That reminded me of something you mentioned earlier, those 24 lessons from the book. I thought maybe we could dive into a few of those that really relate to self-acceptance and dealing with rejection.
Yeah, let's do it. Which one comes to mind?
Well, there's lesson 13. It's called Don't Let Rejection Define You. And the summary stressed that rejection is just one little data point, one moment in your story. You get to decide if it's the whole chapter.
It's about taking back control of your narrative.
Exactly. And there's another one, lesson 18, embrace your imperfections. Apparently, Jiang realized that his fear of rejection often stemmed from this need to be perfect, which kept him from taking risks. But when he started to accept his flaws and just be himself, that's when he really started to connect with people.
It's like that Brené Brown quote, right? Imperfection is the birthplace of innovation, creativity, and change. We have to embrace those messy parts of ourselves.
And, when you think about it, it's often those quirks and imperfections that make us memorable and interesting.
It's true. Like sometimes those are the things that make us unique and help us stand out.
Exactly. And it's not just me saying that. The summary mentioned how people really responded to Jiang's authenticity, like he was willing to put himself out there, even if it meant looking a little silly, and people connected with that.
It's like maybe it's not about trying to avoid rejection altogether, but about being okay with being vulnerable.
I think that's spot on. At the end of the day, we can't control what other people think or how they'll react to us. We can only control ourselves.
So it's more about focusing on what we can control, like our own actions and how we choose to show up.
Exactly. And ultimately, that ties back to what we were saying about self-acceptance, right? It's like the more comfortable you are with yourself, the less reliant you become on external validation.
Because you've already validated yourself, in a way.
Yeah, precisely. And that brings us to one of the most powerful takeaways from rejection-proof, this idea that rejection can actually help us discover who we are.
It's like when you put yourself out there and risk those rejections, you learn so much about yourself along the way. What's important to you, what you're willing to fight for.
It's like that quote, the only way to do great work is to love what you do. But sometimes you don't know what that is until you've tried a few things that you don't love.
That reminds me of lesson 22, discover your purpose.
Mm-hmm.
It was all about how each no can actually get you closer to what you do want, even if it doesn't feel like it at the time.
Totally. It's like every no gets you closer to a yes.
Yeah.
But it's deeper than that, right? It's not just about getting to that yes. It's about all the self-discovery that happens along the way.
So rejection isn't the end of the road, it's just a detour. And sometimes those detours lead to some pretty amazing destinations.
Love that. And I think that's a perfect note to end on, don't you? Rejection is a part of life. It's going to happen. But we get to choose how we let it affect us.
We can either let it define us, or we can use it as fuel to become even more resilient, more self-aware, and more aligned with our purpose.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
So to our amazing listeners, here's to embracing those rejections and using them as stepping stones on the path to an even more awesome version of you. And who knows, maybe that path will even include a donut or two.
Now you're speaking my language.